Let us now use the Venn diagram to solve real-life problems. We can use the Venn diagram to solve real-life problems, just like this pre-break session. Here, we are given that there are 50 students interviewed and shared about the social media accounts they often use to express themselves. We have here 19 students use Twitter, 27 use Instagram, 29 use Facebook, 11 use both Twitter and Instagram, 10 use both Twitter and Facebook, and 13 use both Instagram and Facebook, and 7 use all three. And then we do have questions here that could be answered later. However, there is a very big problem here when you look at the number of responses. If you're going to add all of this, you might reach a certain amount of number, which is more than the number of students being interviewed. This anomaly here is actually taken from an individual or a student who could actually shared more than one social media platform. Say, for example, if you yourself is using Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, you are counted to the group who answered Twitter. You're also counted to the group who answered Facebook, and you're also counted to the group who answered Instagram. That would mean just by one student yourself, you have three responses already. This is the thought here, because when you reach the final given, seven use all three. So these seven students here mentioned Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as their social media platforms they often use. Similarly, 13 here use two, Instagram and Facebook, as well as the 10 and 11 here. This would mean some of the students are counted or were actually duplicated because the responses are more than one. These 19 students who use Twitter are not necessarily users of Twitter only. Some of the 19 students here also use Instagram and Facebook, as given here by the last item. Similarly to number 20, to 27 who use Instagram and 29 who use Facebook, they are not solely using Instagram or Facebook respectively. They are actually also, some of them are also using Twitter and other social media platforms shared here. To reconcile that problem, before answering these items here, we could use the concept of the Venn diagram to trim down the possibilities. And how is that? My suggestion, if you come up with, you see this kind of problem, look at the given where there is a mentioning of three different scenarios, and you move from that until what is given. Basically move bottoms up as you answer here. Why? Because when you start here at the bottom, you can see here that all sets, the set of Twitter students, the set of Instagram, the set of students who use Twitter, the set of students who use Instagram, and the set of students who use Facebook, they're actually joint sets because some of the students are using three of them. To demonstrate that, let us try to use red for Twitter, okay, circular figure as what we often use here. By the way, don't forget that this rectangular figure is our universal set. This would mean that this universal set should address our 50 interviewees here. No more, no less. If this is our Twitter circular figure, we could actually look at the connection of Twitter and Instagram as given here. So if I'm going to draw another circular figure which corresponds to Instagram, it should actually overlap with Twitter. And this region here are those students who use Twitter and Instagram. This is actually our Instagram. Aside from that, Twitter and Facebook are also joint as given here. So if I'm going to add another circular figure, let's say color blue, right, it could represent Facebook because Facebook is more or less color blue. It should intersect or overlaps with Twitter. But there is also another given here. 13 use both Instagram and Facebook. So aside from this blue circular figure attached to the red here, it should also attach here. So how could we reconcile this? If we're going to attach this area, you could use this. Okay, you could use that. You could decide into using that and call it Facebook here because there is an area common to Twitter and Facebook, Instagram and Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. But then again, when we started from bottoms up, we are given here that all three sets should be connected. So there is an area where all three sets are interconnected. So I'm going to make sure that these three sets are interconnected. But first, let me try to remove this portion here so that I could increase the area here. Let's just assume this color black for a while. Increase that like that. And let me erase this portion here. Alright. So I'm going to add again the circular figure colored blue for Facebook. And I'm going to make sure, ayan, that there is an area common to this three. So let me make this figure center here and discuss better that this area here, this one, is common to both Instagram and Twitter. This area here, let me use black, is common to Instagram and Facebook. That this is Facebook rather, this one F. And this final area here is common to Twitter and Facebook. But this middlemost portion, this one here, the asterisk, is the area part of Twitter, part of Instagram, and part of Facebook. This meets the standard here that we are going to use a figure, Venn diagram, wherein there is intersection of three. This is our Venn diagram. If you're actually going to continue drawing this, probably you will come up with the Olympic symbol. So the real life representation for Venn diagram, you could see the Olympic symbols wherein they're actually interconnected to one another, and you could see the reason behind that in the internet. But as of this is concerned, let us try now to answer the problem. As I mentioned earlier, let's start bottoms up. From bottom, and then we move up. When you say moved up, let us place first the values in the given. Okay, from bottoms up. So 7 use Twitter. I'm going to put 7 here. Okay, going to put 7 for this region here, because this is the region common for the red circular figure, the green circular figure, and the blue circular figure, and 7 use all three. If the problem will mention 1, so I'm going to place here 1, or 8 if it's 8. But since the given says 7, I'm going to use 7 here. So I already started with the first, and let's move to the 13. 13 use both Instagram and Facebook. The area where in the Instagram circular figure and the Facebook is intersecting is this area here. This is the area that should contain 13. You might say, I will place here 13, sir. But if you're going to do that, look again at the area common to the Facebook and the Instagram. This area here. This is now more than 13 because 7 is already here earlier. Do not forget, 7 and 13 here are not anymore elements, unlike the first pre-bake session of this chapter. But 7 here is the number of students. So how many are they? So 7 students are already accounted for here. And if you're going to add 13, this would make 20 for Instagram and Facebook. There is already a duplication if you're going to place 13 because I have mentioned that 7 are already counted here. So to make sure that this I here, it looks like an I, should only contain 13. So for us to do that, we need to trim down the possible values since we are told that this is actually this area here is 13 and we already have 7, we could subtract 7 from 13. So 13 minus 7, you will get here 6. If you're going to place this 6 here and examine again the portion common to the green circular figure and the blue circular figure, you will see two numbers corresponds to 7 and 6. And 7 plus 6 is 13. Why did we do that again? Because out of this 13 who use both Instagram and Facebook, 7 of them also use Twitter, as indicated here at the bottom. That is the process that we are going to do here. So, proceeding to the next, duplicating the process, 10, use Twitter and Facebook. So this is the area for Twitter, this one here, and this is the area for Facebook. So this area, this I, should contain only 10. And since 7 is already here, you can say 10 minus 7, and you will get 3. This is the number that you need to place, okay, for a while. You have here 10 minus 7 equals 3. This is the number you need to place here so that the intersection of Facebook and Twitter is still 10. 7 plus 3, 10. And finally, for 11 who use both Twitter and Instagram, this area here, 7 are already placed in this portion. So what we need is just a number of students, 11 in the given, minus 7, which are already placed here. You need just 4. So this is 4. So this is the second step. Again, the first step is placing the number or the item on the middlemost intersection, 7. And the next steps includes the next intersections, considering to subtract the value that is already placed in the middle so that there should be no duplication. Finally, looking at the remaining items, let's start with Facebook, 29. The whole circular, blue circular figure for Facebook should be 29. Do not write here 29 because if you do, the whole circular figure will be more than the given. As I have mentioned earlier, 29 who use Facebook, some of them uses rather other platforms such as Twitter and Instagram. So we cannot actually duplicate them. So to do that, we already have 29 minus part of the blue circular figure. You have 3. Subtract again, this one, 7. And then the last number on the blue circular figure, 6. So you have 29 minus 3 minus 7 minus 6. You will get 13. And this is actually your answer here, 13. Again, we just need to check, look at the circular figure, the blue circular figure, sum all of these items here, you will get 29. Similarly, for Instagram, the whole green circular figure should be 27. 27, and then you already have 27 minus 4, part of the green, minus 7 here, and minus 6. Here, 27 minus 4 is 23, minus 7 is 16, minus 6, you will get here 10, and this is the item that you need to place here, 10. Let me increase this area at the bottom for more computation. Okay, This is the value right now. Checking, look at the items inside the green circular figure. You have 10 plus 4 is 14, plus 6 is 20, plus 7, 27. It meets the amount here. Okay? And then finally, 19 use Twitter. So 19 is the whole red circular figure. You have 19 and subtract with these values 4 minus 7 minus 3. 19 minus 4 is 15, minus 7 is 8, and minus 3, you will get 5. And here is your final item inside the circular figure. So look at the comparison. If we're just going to place here 19, if we do it 19 and then 27 and then 29, just by automatically placing the duplicates, it will exceed just by looking at the first three numbers alone. This is already this is already 19. How much is this? 36, 46. You have here 55, 75 already. Just by these three numbers here. It already exceeded the 50 students. But if you're going to do this, if we're going to do that, let's try to sum of it up. You have 10, okay? So you have here 10 minus, plus rather, 4 plus, let's try to do it from left to right. You have 5 plus 4 plus 10 plus 3 plus 7 plus 6 plus 13. If you're going to add all these items, you have 9, 19, 22, 29, you have 35, 38, 48. So this is 48. Looking at this, it's not even smaller than 50. This would mean that we are just doing it right. But to complete, we need to make sure that our universal set should contain 50 students. We still lack 2 to get to make 48, 50. This is the number of students that answered none of the three. Okay, they are placed outside the three circular figures, but just inside the rectangular figure, as these two students are still part of the universal set. Again, 2 here is not an element, but the number, meaning the count. Okay, if we're going to add 2 here anywhere, just outside the three circular figures, this is our complete Venn diagram. You could check by adding all of them. Okay, and this, by making our Venn diagram now complete, we can now answer the problems. Number one, how many do not use any of the three? The answer for this is the number of students just placed outside the three circular figures, but still inside the universal set. I'm talking about this answer here. The answer for how many do not use of the three, we have two. Probably some of them do not have any of these accounts, or probably use other social media forms rather. Next, how many use Twitter only? Earlier, without this Venn diagram, you might say 19, because it's already given here 19 use Twitter. But then again, I need to remind you that for 19 students, some of them are also using other platforms. And when you look at this, where do we see our answer here? Since we're talking about Twitter, let's look at the Twitter circular figure. And the area, which is actually, or the region, which is actually not, which is not part of the other circular figures, this area here, okay, this is our answer. These are the number of students who use Twitter only. So the answer for number 2 rather, is 5. This is the area student. These are number of students who use Twitter only. They do not touch the Instagram circular figure nor the Facebook circular figure. As for number 3, how many use Instagram only? Again, Instagram only. This region here, just outside the intersections. So your answer here is 10. How many use Facebook only? Again, the region where it doesn't meet the intersections. So the answer here is 13. Again, you just need to uh, trim down the possibilities, because if you're going to add all of this, if I'm correct, the total number of students here is 106, but the given is only 50, so many are have been duplicated. So make sure to trim down the possibilities using the concept of intersecting Venn diagrams. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you have learned. Goodbye, everyone.